also. Just want to let you know. Excellent. Well, Gloria, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Where are you calling in from tonight?
I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Is it cold there or is it?
We are just in the middle of a cold snap. It hit the 30s overnight for the first time this season. So, and it only got up to the 50s today. So it's definitely getting cold.
Awesome. Are you somebody that likes the cold weather, or do you look forward to the spring and summer?
I like the fall. I like that crispness in the air. I have my hair does better when it's not humid. So I like the crisp fall weather. Yeah, I mean, I actually prefer the cold to the hot. The summer is not my favorite time because I'm hot all the time. So, so I'm somebody who in the summer tends to stay inside and crank up the air conditioning. But then in the fall, I want to get outside and I want to do things.
I have my little cozy scarf. I'm ready to go.
Sweater weather is the best. Just sweater weather, denim jacket weather. That's my jam.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I live for. Well, Gloria, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing.
Wow, that's a big question.
It is a big question.
I mean, honestly, I've written my whole life. I mean, I was writing stories from, when I was a little kid. Was always interested in writing. I was a creative writing major in college. Had wanted to be a novelist from early on, but then, as happens with a lot of people, kind of life took me in different directions. And so I've been a professional writer my whole life, but this is my first novel. So it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, well, and it's cool because I was looking in your background and the fact that you have your experience with screenwriting and television writing. How did that inform your approach to your fiction?
Well, it was kind of a double-edged sword because when you write a script, it's just dialogue and action. So, and then you have an actor who comes in and really brings it to life and brings all of those nuances to the piece. But when you're writing a novel, you have to bring everything. Yeah. So that was really something that I had to learn. So I came to to sort of writing this novel, really feeling very comfortable writing dialogue, but really having to dig deeper to find those emotions and to really find those grounding moments that kind of brought it to life.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So had you always been a big reader?
God, yes. Oh, yes. I totally remember when I got my first library card, and my mom took me to the library, and when you first get your library card, you're only allowed to take out 2 books. So I took out 2 books and then I read them both. And then they weren't due for 3 weeks. And then I was like, but I want more books. So then I kind of went back the next day and they're like, okay, you can take out more books.
I love that so much.
But yeah, no, I've always been just a voracious reader. I think one of the challenges now is that I haven't had a whole lot of spare time to read, and I've really missed it because like a lot of novelists, I still have a full-time job. This is my first book, so this is something that I'm doing in my spare time, and so that doesn't leave a lot of time left over for reading. So I do really miss it.
So when it was time for you to, not necessarily for when life gives you vampires, but when it was time for you to embrace the fact that you were ready to write novels, what was the impetus for that to happen for you?
It kind of came all of us. I guess really what happened was I was kind of going through a challenging time in my life. Actually, my dad had died, and then my mother was having health problems. So I was, I was in a way her caretaker. So I had always turned to books as an escape, and so I did that, and I kind of I read a couple of books where I was kind of expecting them to be different than they turned out to be. I wanted something light and fluffy and fun with a happy ending. And then all of a sudden people were dying in the middle. And that happened to me a couple of times. And then a friend of mine said, well, you know what, you should read romance, because romance, you're always guaranteed that happy ending. And she recommended a few to me. Romance was not a genre that I really read a lot of at that point, but I read a couple that she recommended, really, really liked them, kind of got into reading romance. And then, because I am a writer, I kind of thought, well, I kind of like to try my hand at maybe writing this. And then with that friend, we started going to some romance writing conventions, which were super fun. And, I just started writing, and kind of one thing led to another. And now we're here.
I love it so much. So then what inspired When Life Gives You Vampires, which has the greatest title. So I love the title.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
It's one of those things. It's hard to say exactly when, because I feel like your ideas don't come when you're sitting around trying to think of ideas. They just kind of, it's sort of like sometimes you're noodling a lot of things around in your brain, and then all of a sudden they just click. So like I always feel strange when I talk about like my creative process, because like I don't really understand it myself.
It probably changes every time too.
Yeah. So so I guess I definitely as someone who has sort of grappled with self-esteem in terms of my weight, and just sort of body acceptance in general. That was sort of a topic that I wanted to explore, but I didn't want to explore it in a heavy way. And also I read a lot of vampire fiction. And so I think, at some point the two just sort of collided, and I thought, well, like, okay, that's an idea. And then I just started writing, and in romance, they talk a lot about writers are either plotters or pantsers. They either plot everything out, or they just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. I definitely fly by the seat of my pants. So I just sort of had this idea and just kind of started writing. And then, it's sort of gradually over time just started to take shape.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it just a couple of seconds ago, but something that I really related to is Lily's overwhelming awareness of her body and her size, and the fact that she's now stuck in this permanent body forever. And it's like something she has to come to terms with. Can you talk about the effects diet culture has on Lily?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, and again, it's something that I tried to write in a very real, raw way, and kind of like pulled on my own emotions, because I mean, I'm someone who has, I've been everything between a size 4 and a size 14. I've like, my weight has roller coastered my entire life. And, and it's funny because like in the book, Lily is a larger person. She's a larger woman. But I also don't think that like these feelings are sort of, only experienced by women who are larger size. I think there are women who are curvy who feel absolutely wonderful about themselves and have no self-esteem issues at all. There are also people at the other end of the spectrum who are what the world would, deem thin, but who still have, have a lot of insecurities about their bodies.
Yeah.
So I did try to sort of paint Lily as kind of every woman. Although, obviously she's not every woman, because not every woman feels this way, but kind of every woman who feels this way and does have these kinds of body insecurities, which come from a lot of places. I mean, in her case, some of it comes from her mother, and again, I got some of my body insecurities from my mother, who comes from a different time. And, I think, my mother was someone who wanted the best for me. And, in a lot of ways, being thin was the best. So I sort of have those hangups, from my mother, which I tried to portray. I think also, obviously, society does a number on us. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles around, very thin and very beautiful actresses while I was, writing for television. And I mean, that's not a great ego booster.
Yeah, it's never going to make you feel great about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're, and just, like advertisements. I think the world is getting better because we do have role models who are very body positive and who, sort of, like portray, and we're seeing a lot of different types of beauty out there, as opposed to just that, sort of standardized,
Yeah.
size 2, perfect features, blonde hair, whatever, whatever that, that sort of like ideal image that, like some people have in their heads. I think we're seeing like a lot more diversity, a lot of body diversity, a lot of diversity in general, which is great.
Mhm.
But I think, sometimes, we're all human, and sometimes, even though, and I think this is something that Lily struggles with, it's that even though, she knows in her heart that like she's fine and she shouldn't feel bad about the way that she looks, or, because she doesn't look a certain way. And
Mhm.
she, she listens to the body positivity podcasters, and she reads, and like she's a woman of the 21st century.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes she looks in the mirror and she doesn't like her thighs and she doesn't like her belly, and she, wishes she could lose 40 pounds.
Yeah. Those deep-seated
Yeah.
issues are never going to go away, no matter how hard you work to fight them off sometimes.
And so I think it's it, like, I really just wanted to try to take her on like a very honest journey of kind of acknowledging all of this stuff that she has, like all of this, this really just toxic thinking about
Mhm.
herself. Because the thing is, in the book, Lily is the only one who thinks that her body is a problem.
Right.
Nobody else looks at Lily and thinks that she is any less because her body is more. Um, but it's not about Lily changing her body, it's about her changing the way that she sees her body.
Exactly. She needs to see herself through the way that other people see her, not the way
Exactly.
that the dirt colored glasses that you have at that point for yourself.
Exactly. And just like stop the toxic thinking and stop
Mhm.
those, those voices in your head that tell you that you're somehow not good enough.
Yeah. Well, another part of her journey is obviously getting to fall in love and dealing with the drama that comes with the fact that her sire is also illegally turned her. I thought that was really a fun little twist on that there are
Yeah.
rules in there. Can you talk a little bit about the rules in the world, and then also kind of putting these two together and how they make each other better?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, Tristan, well, first of all, Tristan is her love interest.
Mhm.
He's about 400 years old. So he's been
As a
around.
baby.
He's a baby. Well, I guess in vampire terms, he kind of is a baby, but compared to Lily, he literally is from another century. So he's, and he's, kind of, he was turned and kind of raised, sort of like, sort of, you know, like had his journey through the centuries of, this vampire society where there are certain rules. One of them is that, you're not supposed to turn anyone into a vampire without the pre-approval of the vampire council,
Mhm.
because, they want to keep things secret. They figure, the more people know, the more chance there is for word to get out that there are vampires. That puts vampires at risk. So they want to kind of keep a lid on this. Tristan accidentally turns Lily into a vampire,
Accidentally.
which he is not happy about, um, for a lot of reasons.
Would you be though? Would you be happy
I
about being turned? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I read a lot of vampire fiction, so I may not mind so much.
Right.
But she's, Lily has a friend who's a big Twilight fan, but Lily herself is not. So she is not thrilled about this whole situation. But then, as it turns out, because there are these strict rules around creating vampires, there is a penalty for creating an sort of an illicit vampire. And in that case, a lot of times the punishment is death for the newbie and for the creator. So Lily kind of needs Tristan's help to sort of navigate the situation, and now that she's been turned immortal, to try to stay alive. So it kind of like throws them together. And so yeah, and there's definite attraction, there's definite chemistry, but again, they really are from two different worlds. They're both writers. Lily's a journalist, or an aspiring journalist, but Tristan writes historical romances. And so he is a little bit caught in the past, and sort of in his own past. So you know, a lot of it is about, you know, kind of you know, Tristan helping Lily to really see herself as like the wonderful person that she is, and sort of Lily helping Tristan sort of come into the 21st century and sort of get rid of some of you know, some of his kind of backwards, old-fashioned thinking, and kind of really embrace the present and the future.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. Well, before I jump into our next section, which I love to call our fresh fiction facts, I just wanted to ask you, what can readers expect from you next?
I'm working on another book now. It is it's called Vampires Never Say Die.
Nice.
And it is it's the same supernatural world, but it's a different city. It takes place in Los Angeles, and it's different characters. And it's an enemies to lovers romance between a female vampire slayer and a male vampire.
Love it. Oh man. Okay. Excellent. Stay tuned. All right. So now we're going to transition into our fresh fiction facts. These are just sort of fun, easygoing questions.
Okay.
First one is, what is your favorite genre to read?
Lately, definitely romance.
Awesome. What is one genre that you never want to read again?
Oh, I don't know that there's anything I don't ever want to read. I don't read a lot of horror, so I'll say horror.
Perfect. It's usually my pick as well. Too scary. I like the movies. I don't like the books.
Same.
Too much in my head.
Same.
What is your favorite time of day to write?
I am an early riser. I'm much better in the mornings. I'm not a night owl at all. So so actually, when I was writing this book, I used to write before I went to work. So I would get up at like 5 in the morning. I would get my coffee and I would write.
Love it. That's so great. What is your favorite time of day to read?
Probably night. That's yeah, probably, yeah, during the night, like right before bed, and then you start to get a little sleepy, and then you put it aside and kind of conk out.
Absolutely. All right. Who was your first book boyfriend or girlfriend?
First book boyfriend or girlfriend? Oh, that's a hard one. Maybe Henry Higgins.
I love it.
Or you know who I loved? I loved when I was a kid, Encyclopedia Brown. I don't know if anybody reads those books anymore, but like he would solve he was very smart, and he solved all the mysteries.
Like, I love how smart he was. It's perfect.
Yeah.
What is your favorite writing fuel?
Writing fuel. Well, I generally don't eat or drink really while I'm writing, because when I'm writing, I'm kind of in it. So like a lot of times, like I'll get a coffee and I'll start writing, and then I forget about the coffee and the coffee goes cold. So
Like me with a cup of tea every time.
Yeah. So I mean, weirdly, I leave the television on while I'm writing just to have some background noise. So maybe that's my fuel.
Well, now I have questions on that. Do you like stuff that you've already watched before, or do you have like special background content that you like to have for your routine?
Well, usually I put HGTV on a lot, or the Food Network, because they're not things that are like, there's not a real narrative, so it's not distracting. Yep. So it's either something like that, because you just have to look up to like see the end, basically, to like see the beautiful cake, or like see the
exactly
like what how the whole makeover looks like. So it's usually like something like that, or like if it's a movie that I've seen many, many times before, and so because of that, it's not distracting because I'm not like, I know what's going to happen. So
Mhm.
it's not like I need to watch to find out.
I love that. Yeah, I'm a big Food Network in the background person. I just love
Mhm.
it. Pretty colors too.
Yeah.
How do you celebrate a new release?
How do I celebrate a new release? Well, this was my first one. So,
Mhm. Well, how did you celebrate this new release?
so to be honest, the first draft of my second book was due the day before this book came out. So I was basically writing right up until, the
Mhm.
deadline. So I mean, I took a day off from work.
Good. Treat yourself.
And yeah, and yeah, I kind of just didn't do anything. Like I just kind of like chilled and kind of just took the day to relax.
That sounds great. That's a great way to celebrate self-care. Love
And
it.
it was very nice because like like friends of mine were like their books had arrived that they had pre-ordered, so they were like like
Aw.
taking pictures and like texting
Mhm.
them to me. So that was like really nice.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you would give to your younger self?
To my younger self,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, I think I would tell her to like not be so hard on yourself. To like it's all going to be fine, and don't be so hard on yourself. You know, like in terms of like being driven career wise, or like again talking about like the body issues, like
Mhm.
just to not be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice that we can all use
Yeah.
ourselves too. What is one character out of When Life Gives You Vampires that you would like to be friends with?
I would love to be friends with Lily. I
Mm,
I really love her.
perfect. Let's
Well, you
see.
have to. I mean, you have to fall in love with your characters. Otherwise, like, who else is going to?
Absolutely. That is the truth.
Yeah.
What is one thing that instantly pulls you out of a story, a movie or a book?
When I see something that I know isn't true, like if they're talking about something that I have some knowledge of, and I know that like they're doing something wrong, what they're doing is wrong, or what they're saying is wrong, then it just takes me out of it.
Absolutely. All right. So you mentioned that you are big into paranormal romance. You love your vampire romances. So who are some of your favorite vampires in pop culture?
Oh boy. Well, you were like early in your meeting, you were talking about what you're watching now. I'm watching Interview with the Vampire, the new
Oh,
series on
mm-hmm.
AMC, because
MC.
I was definitely a big fan of the Anne Rice books. So definitely Lestat is up there. Eric Northman from the Sookie Stackhouse novels.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why they didn't end up together, but they didn't. Um, let's see, what other vampires? I really like Chloe Neal's Chicagoland vampire books.
Mm-hmm.
Merritt and Ethan Sullivan, they're like a great vampire couple. I'm a fan of J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood series. So Vicious is my favorite.
All
So
good selections. I love
yeah,
it.
no, I like I said, I read a lot of vampire fiction. So I'm basically if you have fangs, I'm interested.
Put that on a t-shirt. I love it. What is the best book that you've read recently?
Oh, I just read Lessons in Chemistry by is it Betty Garmis?
Mm-hmm. I'm not
Loved
sure.
it. It was, yeah, I loved it. Loved it. So good. She has the voice was just so strong and just so it was really unlike anything I had written. Unlike anything I'd written also. Unlike anything I'd ever
In
read.
as well. Okay, so what is one way that you or what do you do to unwind after a particularly good or bad writing day?
Wine. Nice big glass of red wine.
Delicious. Do you have a preferred red wine?
So well, once I like Cabernet. That Cabernets are my favorite. but like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, like I was in my local wine shop and they had like the vampire wine,
Mhm.
and I bought it as a joke actually, and then I brought it home and it was really
It's pretty
good.
good. Yeah.
So that's because that's like my Halloween staple. So that's I have lots of that on the wine rack now.
Awesome. Well, before I turn this over to our readers, I wanted to let you have a chance to answer our bonus question, which
Okay.
was, I don't have the exact wording, so I'm just going to paraphrase it, but what is one attribute about yourself that you would want to keep forever?
I think my sense of humor.
I love that. That's great. Gloria, that's great. Making people laugh is very important to me, I feel.
And also just keeping it light and not taking anything too serious, I think
Absolutely.
is the key.
Perfect. Well, Gloria, where can readers stay in touch with you and find out more about you?
Well, they can visit my website, which is gloria-duke.com. You can find me on Twitter, Gloria Duke HEA. I'm not my marketing rep at my publisher has like been telling me I need to get on social media more. I'm not really on social media, so I'm just starting to get on some of the other social media. I'm starting to get on Instagram. Maybe I'll be on TikTok soon. I don't know. We'll see.
Just pick one that you feel comfortable with and stick to it. That's what I always say.
I think that's a good idea.
Whatever one does not make your skin crawl, that's the one to stay with.
Yay.
Well, great. Well, Gloria, thank you so much. And our readers are going to ask you some questions off our record.
Okay, awesome.